Hey, good morning, everybody. How are you? Happy Friday. We are slated to spend some more time together. It's a beautiful day out where I live. I hope the same for you. Hopefully, you're having a good end to your week. If that is the case for you. But really glad we get to spend the next hour or so together. I am seeing some people in the chats already, so please feel free to join us and let us know where you're from. Let us know the city, state, province that you're from. I always like to kick off with that global roll call so that people can feel welcome and you maybe can meet some people from your country or from your city or whatnot. But I'm really happy with the way this week has gone. It's been a busy week for me. Oh, excuse me, I had a sneeze there out of nowhere. Sorry about that, guys. It's been a fantastic week. It's been a very busy week here. I've been streaming quite a bit this week and also doing a lot of work on my personal projects, client projects, planning ahead for the content that I'm going to bring you guys. I'm really excited about some of the stuff that I'm working on. I have some really good content coming up in August. I'm going to have a lot of my colleagues joining us on the streams. I don't have anybody less than a director coming on board. I have nothing but directors and managing directors. So it's going to be a really, really great August in terms of the content that we're going to be doing. So really looking forward to that. But it takes a lot of work on my part. But yeah, really happy to have all of you guys here. Also, I wanted to share that I ran a stream yesterday at a new time. I ran a stream that was a little bit more convenient for the Asia region. And that was a great stream. Had a really good time on that stream. So maybe I'm going to be doing more of that for Asia just to kind of help them, kind of build that audience a little bit more, because I think that right now it's a little bit too late for Asia. So trying experimenting with different things, trying out, kind of putting my data scientist mind to work and trying different experiments, collecting some data and seeing how things go. So it's possible that I'll come up with like an alternating schedule where I'll be doing some broadcasts at this time and then some later in my day, which is better for the Asia region. We'll see. We'll have to see how all that goes. But I'm already seeing people checking in, so it's good to see people. Ricardo Ramon says, God bless you. Thank you so much. I don't know where that sneeze came from. I was sitting here just fine, getting ready for the stream, and all of a sudden I had a sneeze. So thank you so much for that. So Brohan was our first check-in. Rohan from Vizag, India. Welcome, Rohan. I know you've been here a few times this week, so thank you so much for that. Palki is from Dehradun, India. Nice to see you again, my friend. Ricardo Ramon, happy Friday, Dennis, from Atlanta, Georgia. Well, thank you so much. I think I've seen you before. I think you changed your username. I don't want to give your previous username if there was a reason why you were doing that. But I think I've seen you before, so thank you so much for your continued support, my friend. Dr. Mina Gali from Egypt, from Cairo, Egypt. Well, welcome. What kind of a doctorate do you have? I'm curious. We have a couple of doctors in here. Nicosia, Cyprus, and Michael Butler's checking in from Cyprus. Well, wonderful. I think Cyprus is a fairly small country, right? I think it's an island country. I'm not an expert in that part of the world, but I think that's an island country. Anur Faraji from Tangier, Morocco. Well, salam, and good to see you. I spent some time in Tangier last summer, like last July, right around this time of last year. I was in Tangier. Very nice part of Morocco. Very nice part of the world. Lucas G checking in from Twitch. So happy to see more people in on Twitch. I've been streaming on there for a while, but nobody really seems to subscribe. So glad to see you here, Luke. Thanks for joining in. And again, you can see the little icons where people are checking in from. So I love seeing the different platforms. Firebrand J, a second person from Atlanta. So we've had a couple people from Atlanta, a couple of people from Tennessee. I think both of them were from Knoxville, if I remember right. So yeah, it's good to see people checking in. Ricardo Ramon says, yes, I did. Okay, you did change your name. Okay, cool. Good to see you, my friend. Dr. Mina Gali says they are an ICU specialist. Oh, very cool. So an ICU specialist in Cairo. Very cool. Very cool. So you're probably pretty advanced in your career. Lucas G says, what's good, King? Well, thanks for asking. I'm doing well. It's very hot, so I'm trying to stay cool. I'm just keeping busy, keeping busy with bringing you guys streams and a lot of the different projects that I have to do. But thank you so much for asking. I appreciate that. Michael Butler says, yes, it's an island. Okay, great. So I love seeing that we're getting all kinds of different people from all parts of the world. It's just been amazing to me how much interest there is in data science. Speaking of different things that have interest, I want to show you guys really quickly the Discord server. The Discord server is something that's up and running right now. We have more than 40 people that have joined already. And I got to tell you guys, I am so embarrassed because I had this Discord server ready to go for at least like the last 6 weeks or so. I just didn't think anybody was interested in Discord, and that was just my own, researcher bias, right? But I have been really surprised at how many people have joined in. People are posting their articles, their projects, their questions. A couple of us are posting kind of, what we're doing for the day as far as what our data science practice is involving for the day. So it's been really great to see so much participation. I love seeing the community kind of helping each other. So if you want to join, the link is on my Instagram. It's in my socials highlight. But it's been a really great resource. A really good number of people are in there and participating. So if that's something that interests you, maybe you want to talk about data science beyond the live streams or beyond just, comments on social media, this is a place where we can all communicate with each other. You can post whatever questions or whatever thoughts you have, and there's no need to be embarrassed. But yeah, it's been a great resource for all of us. So Palki says link to the join Discord. Palki, it's on my Instagram profile under the socials highlight. And I'll also start posting it within some of my YouTube videos. That way it'll also be easier to access. But feel free to join. And, I think it's just been a great resource. All right. So now that we've gotten the global roll call out of the way, I'm willing to go and pop into questions. If you are joining us late, because I see people joining in constantly on Instagram, feel free to let us know your city, state, country that you're from, just to participate, keep the chats inclusive. So Palki asks, I am starting my master's. Can you suggest which are some research topics I can look for? So Palki, I'm always hesitant to share project ideas because I don't want to deny you the opportunity to exercise your creativity in data science. Data science is very much a creative effort. That's really kind of what separates one data scientist from another, right? Because otherwise, we'd just be talking in math and code back and forth, and you really can't differentiate yourself in that way, right? So coming up with your own project ideas is one of the few ways that you can really stand out and really kind of put an individual touch on your creativity, on your outlook on data science. So I would encourage you to think about the types of data or news articles or research studies that interest you personally, and then build a project from there. Another resource I can tell you about is if you go to my YouTube, it looks like you're already checking in on YouTube. If you go to my YouTube, I have an online class, a live class that I ran on July 3rd, where I walk people through how to go from a news article that you read to doing your own data science study on it. I basically structured the class so that we could walk everybody through, and I gave an example of some of the research that I did when I was first building out my portfolio. So I would encourage you to view that, to kind of use that as a framework, and then, find your own studies, find your own way to apply it. But, if you were smart enough to get into a master's program, then you're probably smart enough to come up with your own project, right? So I don't want to deny you that opportunity to exercise your own creativity and come up with something that truly interests you, right? Because I don't know what your interests are, right? So I don't want to guide you in a way to a project that you're not going to enjoy or things like that, right? So take this as an opportunity to build upon your own creativity, okay? All right, so while we're waiting for more questions or for additional people to let us know where they're from, I want to throw out a question to the chat. We had a really great question on last night's chat in Asia. And I want to throw it out to the chat. If you were in the chat yesterday, if you were in the Asia live stream yesterday, please don't give the answer, because I want to see people's answers before I give mine. If you know the answer already, please don't put it in the chat. I want you to tell me what your favorite machine learning algorithm is. Okay? So in the chat, just go ahead and type in what your favorite machine learning algorithm is. So yesterday we had random forest, we had rotation forest, we had rule-based algorithms, and somebody else also posted CNN neural networks, right? So go ahead and please, in the chat, really quickly, you don't have to give an explanation or nobody's going to call on you, but just let me know what your favorite machine learning algorithm is, okay? We're going to put that in the chat, and then I don't want to bias the chat. I don't want to give my answer, so I'll wait to the end. But start putting it in the chat. Let me know what your favorite machine learning algorithm is, all right? Joseph, good to see you, my friend. I know you're a great supporter, so thank you so much for coming back. I hope you're well. I believe you're in Tennessee, so I hope you're well in Tennessee. Thanks so much for coming back. Milicha, good to see you too. I think Milicha, you were in our Sunday class last week, so looking forward to seeing you again this Sunday. I hope that was beneficial for you, and keep on coming back. We're going to be doing some good stuff. And as a matter of fact, let me bring that up on my screen. Give me just a second, guys, and I'm going to share it out, because I was actually working on the materials for the class this week. I'm not going to show the materials because I kind of want them to be a surprise, but you can see here that we're going to be going through chapter 4. We're going to be going through categorization algorithms. I always like to give you my notes on the chapter, where I go through and I pull out the stuff that I think is relevant for the real world. And then I give you a framework to work from, and then we do a lab walkthrough, and then I suggest some self-study for you to do on your own. So this is the kind of stuff you can expect if you come to the classes on Sunday, and you can learn along with us. Just in case you haven't already seen it, this is the book here. It's the Introduction to Statistical Learning. So I really like this book. This book is where professional data science begins, right? This is how you study data science at a professional level. And I want to honor the authors by building on their work, not copying their work. So what I'm doing to build upon their work is I'm teaching the class with us using AI tools. We are not going to be writing any code ourselves. We're going to be using AI to write the code for us, because that's really, I really believe that's where the future of data science development is going. That's what's going to be required of you in the future when you're a data scientist. So that's what I'm doing in order to kind of help everybody learn. I do it as a live class, so feel free to come on Sunday. If you can't make it, the recordings are saved on YouTube, so you can view the recordings up there. If you want, go ahead and go on my YouTube and you can look at last Sunday's class. That was the first class. You can kind of get a feel for how I run things. But I think it's a lot of fun, and I think people are learning from it. So hopefully you guys will join us on Sunday. All right, Malicha, so sorry, I'm going to come back to your question here. So Malicha says, can you explain what does a DS project mean? Like, is it coding or something else, please? Yeah, that's a good question, Malicha. So first of all, realize that when you're executing your data science projects in the real world, you're most likely going to end up working for a corporate enterprise, right? So what you're really trying to do, what you're really trying to solve is you're trying to solve a business problem, right? What is a business problem out there, and how can I apply data science to it? That's really like the point of being a data scientist. So your project, it involves that, right? Your project might start with a with a business problem or a business question they are trying to solve. From there, data science isn't really an algorithm or an answer. It's a process, right? It's the application of the scientific method to data. So you should be thinking of data science as a methodology. And that's one of the things that I explain in my book, Your First Year in Data Science, because methodology isn't something that's really taught in academic programs, right? So one of the things that I advocate for is you want to make sure that you're always following a process that is separated from the results. So your process might be to collect your data, and then you want to do some EDA on it, and then you want to do a visualization step on it, and then you want to come up with some sort of hypothesis, right? You got to go through a process of saying, well, what can we do with this data, right? What are some of the questions we can answer with this data? And then it's, what are the experiments that I would need to come up with an answer? What is the code that I need to run those experiments? I ran the code, I ran the experiments, here's what it gave me, but now how do I translate that into business results, right? So all of those things are involved in a data science project. So I'm taking the time to explain methodology because it basically hits upon the three things that you mentioned, right? So yes, a data science project is coding, it is visualizations, and it is other things, right? But I want you to kind of remember that ultimately you're serving a business, right? No one's going to pay you guys to just write math formulas or to talk about confusion matrices, right? You have to make all of that work mean something. You have to translate all of that into some sort of business impact. So that's really kind of what you should be focusing on when you think about a data science project. What is the impact that I'm going to have, or what is the business problem that I'm trying to solve? Not the coding problem, not the math problem I'm trying to solve, but what is the business problem I'm trying to solve? Okay, Milicha, so I hope that helps you. Okay? All right, some answers are coming in. So remember, guys, that the question for the chat today is, what is your favorite machine learning algorithm? So Lucas G, joining us from Twitch, is telling us K-means because it's the only one I know. Okay, no problem. It's totally okay if you're still new to data science and you know K-means. Okay, cool. Joseph says K-means clustering. Okay, that's interesting. Both of you chose K-means. Why is that? Are you guys? Is there like a tutorial going around on K-means or what? It's kind of interesting that both of you would choose K-means. So let me know what the rationale is behind both of you choosing K-means. Anybody else is welcome to participate. Just let us know what your favorite machine learning algorithm is. I'll give you guys a few more minutes, and then I'll give you my answer. And if you're joining us late on Instagram or on YouTube, feel free to let us know where you're from. I always like to do that global roll call. Rex Riker, good morning, everyone. Good to see you too, my friend. Rex is a big participant on both our chats and on our Discord. So glad to see you here, Duke, and glad you made it. Lucas G says K-means is... I'm assuming you mean K-means is cool. Okay, well, if the only algorithm you know is also a cool algorithm, then good for you. But Joseph, if you want to tell us K-means or why both of you chose K-means, I'd love to hear it. Syed Hamad, good to see you again. I know you've participated quite a bit this week. Hello, sir. Good morning. How are you doing? I'm doing well, thank you. Just trying to enjoy my Friday. I've been getting up really early and working quite a bit at some very early hours. So I might take a little break once this stream is over. I've been up for a while, but I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. All right, guys. So last call for favorite algorithms. Last call. I'm going to give everybody about one more minute here. So if you want to participate, let us know the city, state, or province, country that you're from, and also what is your favorite algorithm. And if you were in my chat yesterday for the Asia region, do not give the answer, please. We had some really great discussion around this. Melly Durr says, is decision tree also an algorithm? Sure, absolutely, it's an algorithm. Yeah. So we're going to put Melly down as decision trees being her favorite algorithm. But yeah, that's absolutely an algorithm. Anybody else? Last call for favorite algorithms? Last call, guys. Okay, so Joseph says simple to understand and still learning other ones. Yeah. K-means is very simple to understand. I think one of the challenges with K-means is that it has very specific uses. But yeah, it is simple to understand. Rex says, I watched yesterday's video, so I'm not telling. Thank you so much, Rex. Abhishek says, logistic regression. Nice. I like the choice. I like the choice of logistic regression. In fact, I think um, we are going to be doing a little bit of logistic regression this week, if I remember right. Yeah, I think we are going to be doing some logistic regression in this Sunday's class. If you're interested in that, Sunday, 1500 GMT, running a live class, and logistic regression will be part of it. Okay, so here's the summary. I'm seeing logistic regression, decision trees, k-means, and somebody else posted another one. No, I think that's it. So k-means, decision trees, logistic regression, and people that are still learning other algorithms. Okay, so here's my favorite algorithm, or rather, here's the answer for this question, right? What is your favorite machine learning algorithm? Okay, sorry, we have one last entry. Syed Hamad says, it depends on what I'm working on. For time series analysis, ARIMA is my favorite. Yep, ARIMA is very popular for time series analysis. And Joseph says, I've used k-means for customer segmentation. Great. All valid algorithms. But here's the answer, guys, okay, for your favorite machine learning algorithm. If you gave me a favorite machine learning algorithm, wrong. Wrong answer, guys. There is no favorite machine learning algorithm. If you have a favorite machine learning algorithm, the danger with that is that it's a form of researcher bias, right? And researcher bias is a real thing. Oh, that'll never work. No, we shouldn't try that. That'll never work. That's researcher bias, and that's bad, right? You're letting bias creep into your data science process, and pure data science is the removal of all bias from your decisions, from your data, right? So please resist the urge to have a favorite algorithm, because it can really wreak a lot of havoc on your process and your algorithm development going forward, right? Another way that I've seen this is I'll be working with a team, like maybe with a corporate client, and I'll ask them, well, how did you determine that you're going to use, this algorithm for this problem? And they might tell you, oh, because we had the code snippets from another project we did, and we just reused the code snippets for this, right? That's kind of like the same error, right? It's a form of researcher bias, right? Like, oh, it worked over there, so it must work over here. Or it's just like a convenience, right? To say, oh, let me just go ahead and use that because we already have the code, and then it'll be faster. And I also talk about this in my book, about the mistakes that you can be making like that. Another one in my book, I call it the trusty but rusty, right? If you guys play golf, every golfer has like a favorite club, right? Like that one club it's old and it's rusty. They've had it forever, but they can always hit the ball well with it, right? They can always, get a good result from it, right? So same thing for us as researchers, right? You might say, oh, well, I like CNN neural networks. They always get me a fast answer. I really like work, so I'm going to try. So that's going to be my tool. I'm going to keep going with it. No, you should always have a proper champion model search, a champion model process that goes out and says, I'm going to have an open mind. I just know that I have this data, and this is the results I'm going to try to get to. So I'm going to try a variety of different algorithms, right? I'm going to try different approaches. I'm going to try the regression methods. I'm going to try XGBoost. I'm going to try some of the neural networks. You have to do that in order to have a pure approach to your data science, okay? So I'm really going to, try to encourage you guys to never have a favorite machine learning algorithm. So Jay, you might have noticed that I skipped over your answer because I think that this is a pretty close to a model answer, right? You should be picking your algorithms based on what you are trying to do for the problem. And you really shouldn't have a preconceived notion of what that algorithm is, right? And I also talked about this in my class, on Sunday, because Sunday we were doing the fundamentals. When you come into a problem, you should be thinking about, is it a supervised problem or an unsupervised problem? And that's it. That's the only judgment you should be making, because you kind of need that to fundamentally, guide yourself, right? But beyond that, you shouldn't be saying, oh, this is a supervised problem and I can use logistic regression. Oh, it's an unsupervised problem and I can use k-means. You shouldn't have the and. You should just be looking at it as one of the two and then trying the multiple algorithms, right? So that's kind of what I want you guys to think about. Be aware of your own biases, of your own research bias. And sometimes you guys might hear me talk about that. Like when I was talking about the Discord, that was my bias, saying that, oh, nobody's going to be interested in Discord. Why would I advertise this, right? I had it ready. It was ready to go. I taught myself how to be a Discord admin. I've never done the admin side before. And I didn't launch it. But that's my own bias, right? And look at me. Plenty of people are joining. So that's my own bias failed there, right? So that's why I kind of want to encourage you guys to think about that, okay? Luke SG says the notion goes hard, like you have to have more than one way to skin a cat. Yeah, absolutely, Luke. Yeah, I like the way you phrase that, because you do want to make sure you have enough tools to work with, right? You want to have different tools. You want to know the hyperparameters so you can adjust those tools and things along those lines. So yes, I fundamentally agree with you, but keep in mind that I'm also talking from a scientific perspective. Remember, we are scientists above all else, right? We are not programmers. We're not math specialists. None of that. We are scientists above all else. And science is a process, right? Science is the practice of making sure, well, for data science, the science is the practice of removing bias from your data. Your client is going to bring bias to their projects. You are going to bring bias as a researcher. Your data might have forms of bias built into it inherently, right? So these are all the things that we're looking for as a data scientist. So it starts with you, right? It starts with you being able to recognize your own researcher bias and being able to say, well, wait a minute, why am I saying something when I haven't proved it? I haven't run the experiments. I haven't put in the work to be able to speak intelligently about that, right? So I hope that was a valuable thought exercise for all of you. Akib, I think you might have joined a little bit late when you're volunteering Ensemble Learning. I love the participation, but again, the purpose of the question was to really highlight how we shouldn't be. There shouldn't be a favorite model, right? When somebody asks you what's your favorite ML model, your answer should be none. My favorite model is a process that lets me find the champion model for that data, for that specific problem. That should always be your answer, because that should be your approach, to have that open-mindedness to say, well, who knows? It might be a regression problem. It might be a neural network problem. I don't know, right? But yeah, hopefully that's been helpful for you guys. It sounds like it helped Luke. So Luke, I'm glad that it helps you. Glad to see you participating on Twitch there. All right, guys. So I'm seeing more people joining in on Instagram. Again, feel free to let me know the city, state, country that you're from, or if anybody else has any other questions for data science, please feel free to go ahead and add them. I'm willing to answer questions and kind of, just see where you guys are at in your data science practice. Okay, so we got a couple more questions coming in. Alomari SEO. Alomari, did you tell us where you're from? Let me know where you're from, my friend. Your opinion on AI in healthcare, examples, disease prediction through electronic health records. Do you have a good book or resource to start with? Well, first of all, when you're talking about data science and healthcare, you're mostly talking about the field of bioinformatics. So if you haven't looked that up already, feel free to start that as your Google search, but look up anything related to bioinformatics. I see a lot of potential in that field. That's a huge field. It's been a huge field for a long time. Data science is not new for that. But it's a big field. And I think that if that's something you want to pursue, I think there's a lot of, growth in job opportunities and in research opportunities in that field. As far as a good book or resource, I don't think I have one specifically for bioinformatics. That's a good question. I don't think I have one. Now, for me, I wrote my book, Your First Year in Data Science, to help people who are starting off in data science in general, kind of help get their feet wet with the with how to do data science in the real world. But I did it from a generic perspective, independent of any individual industry that you might go into. So you might find some benefit in my book. I have tried to make it's available in all formats, and I've tried to make the ebook version very accessible with the pricing, because I know I have followers all over the world. I know I have some students that are followers. So you're welcome to look at that book on Amazon to help you a little bit. But beyond that, you're going to want to just start researching bioinformatics in general. But I see a lot of potential in that field, so I think you're on the right track there. So Akib says, I am from Kashmir, administrated by Pakistan. Very cool. I think you might be our first viewer from Kashmir. I mean, I realize how that's considered its own separate entity or separate region, but I don't think we've had anybody from Kashmir. So welcome. Good to see you here. Hope you're well. I imagine it's very hot in that part of the world. Akib also asks, I have currently only 56 observations in my data set, and I am facing heteroscedicity. Any approach in your mind to deal with that? Give us some more background there, Akib. Why are there only 56 observations? Because that's really my question. My question isn't how do I improve this, but why are there only 56 observations? And I say that because, well, I want to hear your answer first, and then I'm going to give you why 56 observations jumps out at me. And if anybody else wants to opine on this, please feel free to do that. We can all help Akib. But Akib's question is specifically on heteroscedicity. So you're welcome to contribute to that. But I have other ideas, other questions. But let me know, okay? So the chat, that question is open to the chat. And Akib, if I forget to give you an answer, feel free to remind me. But I want to give the chat an opportunity here to give an answer, okay? Alamari says that they are from Jordan. Well, welcome, Alamari. Good to see you. Mitra Zidane says, hello, Dennis. I'm working as a research engineer working on developing pure cognition algorithms. Would love to talk to you and get your insight on a few ideas. Yeah, sure. Feel free to send me a DM. My messaging on X and on Instagram is open. So feel free to send me a message there. Would love to hear what you're doing, and if there's some way I can help you, I'll try. Okay. Srinad AJ777 says, hi sir, how's your day? This is Srinad. Good to see you. I'm pretty sure I've seen you before in the stream, so thank you for coming back. Thanks for supporting. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. I appreciate when people ask. That's very polite of you. But yeah, I'm doing well. Just keeping busy. I'm working to bring you guys a lot of really good content in August. I've been reaching out to some of my colleagues for some of their ideas, for some of their participation, and they're going to come join us on stream. So by the way, guys, next Thursday, I have our first guest coming on. He's a managing director in analytics and in internal audit. Really good guy, really smart guy, based out of London. So that's going to be a great stream event. So feel free to keep on coming back every Thursday in August. Have some really good guests lined up for that. Okay? Rahul, my good friend, so good to see you again. Rahul here again from yesterday. I live in the UK. Sorry I joined a little late today. What are we talking about today? Well, Rahul, I know you're a great contributor and a smart guy. So the current question is to help our friend Akib. Akib talks about how he only has 56 observations and he wants some help with heteroscedicity. So if somebody wants to contribute their thoughts on that, we can help our friend Akib together. I haven't given my answer yet because a couple of things jump out at me, especially about the 56 observations that I'm going to share with you. So Rahul, that's the question for today, or for anybody else that wants to contribute. Please go ahead and put your answer in the chat and we can all help our friend Akib, okay? But good to see you again, Rahul. Mitra Zidane asks, wanted to get an idea on how you feel about LLMs and wonder if research progress is now towards content presentation rather than developing the algorithms themselves. Oh, fantastic question. Love the question. And I love the fact that you're thinking in these terms. So good for you. Yeah, so many different ways to answer this. And I'll give you a couple of different views on this. First of all, I want everybody to realize that everything that we are seeing with LLMs, this is all just Act 1. We are still in early days. This is all just Act 1. There is so much more to come. Okay. And really, I'm going to focus in on your mention of LLMs, because you're really not just talking about LLMs. You're really talking about Gen AI, right? LLMs is kind of like the text implementation of Gen AI. But think about images. Think about video. There's still a lot in Gen AI to come on video and images, and LLMs too, right? So think about not just LLMs, but think about Gen AI, right? So having said that, to address your question more directly, I don't think the progress now is towards content presentation. It's still too early for that. Yes, there is work being done on that, but there's still a lot more to be done in Gen AI. So what I'm telling people, I'm telling this to my corporate clients, is that right now, when it comes to LLMs and Gen AI, we are using the models and the algorithms as they are, period, right? And you're seeing that, right? Because there's a lot of these like fake startups that basically all they do is wrap an API around ChatGPT and then they sell a product like that, right? That's what they do. But that's phase one. That's just accepting the algorithms as they are. ChatGPT put out a version, I'm going to use that version, period, right? And I'm done. The second iteration that we're going into, that some of the smarter companies are already doing, is to look at fine tuning, right? You're gonna see companies do some very heavy fine tuning on models to make them a little bit more localized to their data, right? Because you got to remember, guys, there's a ton of companies out there that have, like internal private documents, right? Those still have to be ingested into LLMs, and they're going to be internal LLMs, right? That nobody else will see outside of the company walls, right? So that's going to be a fine-tuning effort, but that has its limits too. We're still a far away from reaching those limits, but that has limits too. So then the third phase is for companies to develop their own LLMs from the ground up, right? I don't want to use ChatGPT anymore. I don't want to use Llama anymore. I want to develop my own LLM from the ground up. I have the documents. I know what I want the LLM to do. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to build it from raw code. And that's possible. That's a whole other effort. It takes a lot of people to do that, but that's certainly possible. And that's going to be phase 3, right? So I see all of these phases that are coming up that I really, it's too early to focus on, we're moving on and we're going to be looking at content presentation, right? To me, that's a mistake, because there's still so much more to come from Gen AI, right? I mean, ChatGPT was released within the last 18 months, maybe less than that, maybe like a year, 12 months, right? 12, 15 months, something like that, right? So there's still a lot to be done there, right? So I love the question there, but I think that there's still a lot that's coming up, okay? So Akib, remember guys, Akib is providing our question about having few observations. So he explains, because I have election data of Bangladesh and I am running linear regression to predict CPSI score, some measure to check acceptance of election, seeing residual versus predicted graph, I observe hetero. Okay. All right. This sounds good. Akib, it sounds like you have a really good research project on your hands. And if you want to keep on pursuing this, please feel free to do so. But the reason why 56 observations caught my eye, or the reason why your question in general caught my eye, is because, as I mentioned earlier, most of us are going to be working in some sort of corporate environment. So when you're talking about a corporate environment, before you take on a project, you would have to also do almost like a cost benefit analysis, return on investment, ROI analysis, to be able to say, is this algorithm worth it? So to me, 56 algorithms or 56 observations up for an algorithm is too small. That's usually going to be something that you're not going to be working on, because it tells me two things, right? It tells me, one, you're not going to give me enough training data, so my probability of coming up with a good algorithm is low. And two, if you only have 56 observations, then how often are you going to be using this algorithm? You're probably not going to be using it enough to, often enough, or on a large scale enough to be able to say, like, that you saved a lot of man hours, or that you sped up a process or whatnot, right? So in your example, you're talking about the Bangladeshi elections. I don't know how often they are in Bangladesh, but I'm going to assume it's maybe 4 years, right? So is it worthwhile to work on an algorithm that's only used one time every 4 years? Probably not, right? Like the return on investment on that would be super hard to justify, right? Now, I understand you're doing this as a research study. I get that. But I'm saying that, if you take that to the business world, there may be algorithms that would only be used once a year, once every other year, or even once a quarter, 4 times a year, that aren't going to have the ROI. So I appreciate the question you're asking, and you're doing this like as a personal research project. But I also want you to think about, what it means from a business perspective, because you're going to get into the real world and you're going to be working on real projects. And these are some of the things that you're going to have to talk to people about. To tell them, hey, I love your idea, I love your project, but this is what I have to do to develop it, and you probably don't have enough usage for me to say yes to the project. I guarantee that most of you in the chat will be having that conversation with your stakeholders at some point in the future. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's why 56 jumped out at me, because as soon as somebody tells me that, I have to shift the conversation in that direction. I'm referring to my corporate clients, right? As soon as they tell me that, I have to shift that conversation, because it's just not enough. It's not enough data and it's not enough usage, right? It's kind of like a correlated problem that way. So keep that in mind, guys. These are the things that you're going to have to do to take yourself beyond academic study and into working as a data science professional. So thank you for the question, Akib. Really interesting. Mitra Sadine says, I am working at a tier 1 research company and had the chance to work on cognition. Our tool is primarily to give you actual decision-making abilities through cognition to data scientists. Great. We did really well in an international math Olympiad and can't wait to show you guys some stuff. Okay. If you want, like I said, you can reach out to me, or, you can also post some stuff in the Discord. We have a very active Discord. If you want to get feedback from the greater, data science with Dennis community, you're certainly welcome to do that. Part of the reason why I did start the Discord was to encourage people to help each other. And, the answers don't always have to come from me, right? So I'd love to have you guys, help each other. And if you want, that sounds like something that'd be good for you to post. If it's something that you can post, right? You don't want to violate any client issues there. But, thanks so much for sharing that. So Palki says, don't you think the data analysis path of data science will become easy for the common people in the future due to advanced AI tools? How you see data science jobs changing in the future? Yeah. So this is something that I'm already trying to address, because I do agree with you that some of the earlier stages of data science are going to become more and more automated by some very good tools. So as data scientists, we are going to have to learn to work more with the Gen AI tools. So that's why I'm teaching the course on Sundays. I'm teaching it completely with AI tools. We are not writing any native code in that class. I'm showing you how to set up a professional environment, what tools to use, but the code itself, I'm using ChatGPT to write that code. So it's my own twist on this book, and I don't think anybody else out there is doing that. This book, again, I'm referring to this book here. This book exists for Python, for R, but nobody is doing it for AI. That's what I'm doing. That's the twist that I'm adding. So I do agree with you that some parts will be automated, but there are other parts that will still require a work of a data scientist, right? Because remember, an algorithm doesn't know what to write. You have to direct it to know what to write. So you still have to be smart enough to understand the different components that you're going to need, and be able to say, oh, okay, well, I need 3 different objects. The objects need to talk to each other like this. This object contains these 5 methods. This object contains only 1 method, and I'm gonna write it so that it's scalable, so on and so forth. Right? The ChatGPT is not going to do that for you, right? And also, if you want to look at the replay, on the class last Sunday, we had a scenario where ChatGPT made a mistake in writing code. It made a very basic mistake, an extremely basic mistake, right? So you're still going to have to correct some of those errors. You're still going to have to be a code editor, right? We may not be code writers, but we're certainly going to be code editors going forward. So keep that in mind, guys, that yes, data science is changing, but the role of a data scientist will still be there. You're just going to have to think about it in a different way. You're going to have to just bring additional different skills to the table. But there'll always be a need for data scientists, okay? All right, guys, so if you're joining us late, because I still see people on Instagram and on YouTube, feel free to let us know the city, state, country that you're from. Love to hear about that. As you can see, we already have a very international audience today. Chicky Fella says, hello, I'm the gambling man. Okay, so you're the gambling man on YouTube from yesterday, I believe. Great discussion yesterday, gambling man. Really, really glad to have you there. I know it's late for you in Singapore. Yep, I was in YouTube yesterday's morning. It's 12 midnight. Yep. Thanks so much for joining us, Chicky Fella. Good to see you, my friend. I thought we had great discussion yesterday. I'm definitely going to do more live streams at that hour to make it convenient for Asia. I don't know on what schedule yet. I haven't really decided. I haven't had the time to think about it because I've been so busy. But yeah, really good to see you. I really enjoyed that stream last night. But I will be doing more Asia-friendly time slots. Okay, so thanks so much for supporting that stream yesterday. Walrus Operator checking in on Twitch. Thank you so much for supporting Twitch. Hiya, found you from browsing. I'm focused in ML Ops and cloud infrastructure. 7+ years of experience, Atlanta based. Well, great. You're not alone in being from Atlanta. We have a couple other people from Atlanta. So thanks so much for being here. GB Gus says Brazil here. Oh, well, good to see you. We only get a couple of viewers from Brazil, so I'm glad to see that you found us. Thank you so much for joining. Hi, AK from India here. Welcome, AK. Good to see you. Jayant says attending from India. Great. You guys got to tell me where in India, though. You know, I've had staff in India. I know a little bit about India, but I know enough to know that it's a big country. So you got to tell me what part of India, okay? Michael says, hello, Dennis. I am Emika from Lagos. I'm currently a data analyst and trying to get into data science. Welcome. Good to see you. We get a lot of viewers from Africa, so glad to see you. Chicky Fella says, good to see you too. Well, good. Thank you, my friend. Syed says, as data science is a newer field, don't you think it's really too early for a transition of the data science role? No, not at all. Not at all. Syed, look, we cannot decide when change is happening, right? And Gen AI is definitely a change, and it's coming whether we want it to or not. So it doesn't matter how old the role or how old the field of data science is. Gen AI is a very powerful tool, and it's going to come whether you want it to or not. So the time to prepare is now. You know, again, that's why I'm running the class like this, because I think it's a unique twist, and also because I truly believe that that's the future of what data science development will be, right? And it's and we're not, and data science is not alone in that. You know, I call this the blank screen effect, where Gen AI is going to take over a lot of industries. There are industries now where you should never start with a blank screen anymore. You know, if you're a software developer, a lawyer, a real estate agent, you know, most technology fields, including data science, if you're starting a project with a blank screen, you're done. That's dinosaur. That's the old way of doing things. You should be starting by your basis should be what an LLM tool, a Gen AI tool gave you to start off from. That's going to be your new starting point. So you're going to have to be more of a code editor, not a writer, and you're going to have to be more of a data science architect. Again, coming back to that notion of you're going to have to see the project in your mind, and you're going to have to be able to say, okay, this is what this project's going to require. I need this data collection. I need these objects for the business layer. Here's what my training cycle is going to look like. Here's what my prediction cycle looks like. Okay, now I'm ready to go and direct ChatGPT to build that for me. But you still need to do that first part. ChatGPT doesn't know that, right? But you're still adding that. So no, I don't think it's early at all. If anything, we need to start preparing like right away. So please come to the class on Sunday. You can see how I'm using the Gen AI tools. We are not writing any code ourselves. We are only editing the code because that's the future. And that's going to come whether you want it to or not. Okay? Khalid says Algeria. Welcome, Khalid. El Ramio 5 said, hi, there is any Morocco. If you mean Moroccans in the chat, yes, we do have a couple of Moroccans here. And other members that I know are from Morocco that just haven't joined today. So welcome. Okay, AK is from Delhi as requested. Thank you, AK. I appreciate the clarification. Data science has been here since 2000. It's just not as hyped as it is now. Ooh, cheeky fella, I have to disagree with you, my friend. It's been around for a lot longer than that. It just wasn't called data science. It was called other things. But it's been around for a lot longer than 2000, okay? Keep that in mind, my friend. It's been a while. Rex says, I think it's great you're teaching a class on how to use AI to help us learn the data science process. What are your thoughts on low-code and no-code tools for data science? That's a great question, Rex. And I have to admit that I'm pretty late to the no-code game, because I've always been a good coder, so I've never needed no-code tools, right? But I recently started experimenting with Bubble.io. Yeah, Bubble.io. And I was super impressed what you can do with no code on Bubble.io. I was super impressed. And I think I did like a little podcast on it. I did some piece of content on it. And one of my old colleagues from banking from New York told me, he was like, you just discovered that? That's been around forever. And I had no idea. So I'm really late to the no code in general. And as far as data science no code, I just haven't kept up with it. So I wish I could speak more intelligently on it. That's something that maybe I need to research a little bit more. I will tell you this though, guys, and I talk about this in my book because I think it's a very, very valuable portion. And this relates to our earlier conversation about the favorite models. So the one low code tool that I have seen that I do kind of see a usage for is Data Robot. Now, to be clear, I'm not a big fan of Data Robot itself. I don't like companies that keep proprietary algorithms that you can't export and stuff like that. I think that's bad. But if you look at Data Robot will take in your data, it'll do its EDA, and then it'll recommend the algorithms for you to use. And it does that within the first 2-3 screens of the tool. That portion is super valuable for our earlier discussion about avoiding researcher bias and avoiding your favorite algorithms. Because Data Robot is excellent for being able to tell you, here, I looked at your data and these are the 10 potential algorithms we see for it. That's saving you a lot of time. Because otherwise your champion model process is like a manual process, right? Where you're gonna have to write code for the different instances of models that you wanna use, right? So Data Robot is super convenient for that. So Rex, that's as far as my knowledge goes when it comes to these low-code tools specifically for data science. I just haven't spent enough time with them. And I've always worked in environments where I've had a staff, so I've always had staff that can write code. I mean, I've had some extremely talented data scientists work for me over the years. So I've never really had to look at the no-code tools for data science. So if somebody else wants to speak intelligently on that, feel free to chime in on that, but that's kind of like my limit. But if you want to explore something like Data Robot for that champion model process that we were discussing earlier, I think it's an excellent tool for that. Rahul asks, which class are we talking about on Sunday? Can you please share more details? Yeah, Rahul. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see me advertising a class on this book, Introduction to Statistical Learning, which is a classic book. This is where professional data science begins. There's an R version and there's a Python version of this book, but there is no AI version, and that's what I'm attempting to fill. I'm teaching this book via using AI tools. So let me switch over to my classroom view. So as an example, I'm already working on the materials for this Sunday's class. This Sunday, we're going to go over categorization. Last Sunday, we went over linear regression. We're going to go over categorization, and we're going to, again, teach the book, but using AI tools. And I'm doing that every Sunday for the next 7 Sundays, right? It's 8 weeks total. Tomorrow is week 2. It looks like you're already on Instagram. So if you go to my Instagram account, on YouTube, you're already on YouTube. If you go to my YouTube account, Data Science with Dennis, you're going to find the placeholder. I already put the thumbnail. I already put the notification up there. So subscribe and click on notify, and it'll tell you when the class is starting. I've already set it up, so that you guys can sign up for them. But we had a great discussion on Sunday. I'm seeing a couple of people that were there. Melly Durr was there. Joseph, I think you were there. And Rex, I think you were also there. Feel free to come on by. We had great discussion. I throw out I throw out questions to the chat to, kind of keep things interactive, keep things lively. But yeah, so I'm doing that on Sunday. If anybody's interested, please come and join us. It's a good book. It's a really, top quality book as far as, looking at professional training materials, right? Not just weird people talking on Instagram or whatever. So come to that class. And also, as I've said, I do it because it's fun for me. I like teaching, but I never want to do pre-recorded material. So really live classes is the only way I'm willing to teach, because, that's fun for me. So feel free to come on by. Would love to see you, Rahul. Okay, well, here, you can hear it from Michael. Michael, I attended your class last week Sunday, and I must say it was great. Somewhat similar to a course I took on Data Camp using Gen AI. Well, great. Glad to hear that, Michael. Yeah, I don't know about this particular course, but, I know that this Introduction to Statistical Learning is a very good book. Like I said, it's like a professional grade book, and I'm trying to honor the authors by using Gen AI. So, I thought the class went great, great participation, and we're going to do it again this Sunday. So hope to see you there again, Michael. Thanks for coming last week. Chicky Fella, I love the way you're putting this. ChatGPT is the tool, you are the brain. Yep. That's an excellent way of putting it. ChatGPT still needs to be told what to do. It's a tool in your hands, but you, as the holder of the tool, still need to know what to do. So Chicky Fella, I love the way you put that. Thank you so much for that. Joseph says, great question, Rex. Yeah, and it was a great question. So, I love the community supporting each other, right? I love when you guys, give each other shout outs and, give answers to each other. Love that. Yep. So Rex sharing the same sentiment right back to Joseph. Thanks so much for being great participants, guys. Syed says, still people confuse data science with other roles like data analysts and data engineers. Yeah, they do. But that's not on purpose, or that's not their ignorance. It's just the way it is. Because, another thing I share with you guys is that data science teams are very small. I've been in enterprise for a long time. I've managed a lot of teams. I know people at other companies who manage teams and whatnot. Data science teams across the board are still very small. You're lucky to be on a team that has more than like 5 people on it. Most teams you're going to walk into are going to be like 3, 4, maybe 5 people. There might be other data science teams in your organization, but for your team, your focus, for like your department, are still going to be very small, right? So don't get caught up in roles and titles or what they hire you for, or even what you're applying for. You're still going to be doing a lot of the tasks. Like there's not enough people for you to be able to say, well, I'm just a data scientist, so I don't do any data engineering tasks. I don't build data pipelines. I just build models because I'm a data scientist. You can't do that. The teams aren't big enough for that. So there are going to be times where, even though you're a data scientist, you might still have to go and do your own data pipelines, or your own queries, or whatever the case may be. Or even for me, one of the things I write about in my book is, as a chief data scientist, I still carry my own load of projects, because I still want to be up on the latest technologies. And again, the team is so small that you can't afford to have somebody who doesn't have a load of projects. So again, I talk about this in my book, Your First Year in Data Science, where even as a chief data scientist, I still work on my own projects. There's projects that I'm still directly responsible for. So, you got to keep that in mind, that yes, people confuse it, but it's just the nature of the work, right? It's just the way the industry is. Okay? So Rahul says, thanks for sharing the info on Sunday class. Could you please tell me what time it is? Yeah, Rahul. So as I said, if you go to YouTube, I already have the thumbnail up there, and it'll tell you what it is in your local time, and you click on the notify, and YouTube will send you a notice when the class is starting. But it's going to be 1500 GMT, which is the same time as this stream starts. I think that's a time that's accessible for most people. If you're late, that's okay. Last Sunday we went for almost 3 hours. So even if you can't make it during the first hour, come on in during the second hour, right? We're likely to still be going. I don't know if we're going to go 3 hours this time, but certainly we're probably going to go into 2 hours. So, come back, or, if you have to leave and then you come back, you're certainly welcome to do that. And then the recording is up on YouTube. I always save the recordings. So if anybody on the chat right now wants to go check out the class from last Sunday, you can see my teaching style and the materials that we went over. So that was last Sunday, July 21st, that you can look that up. But yeah, feel free to come. It's 1500 GMT on Sunday. Syed says, I missed the first class of ISLP, but covered it later. Hopefully we'll join it live on Sunday. Well, wonderful. Would love to have you guys. Feel free to come and join. Now, I will say that sometimes people find it more convenient to join on YouTube rather than Instagram, because on YouTube you can get the widescreen view. Instagram isn't always great for that, because I do show materials up on the screen. I do show code. So feel free to come for that, or feel free to join on YouTube. I just think it's a better format. Syed says, hopefully there would be a separate department for data scientists in the near future. Why? I think that's terrible. To me, part of the fun of being a data scientist is that there's so much to it, right? One day I'm working on data, the next day I'm working on new ideas for a model, the next day I'm working on visualizations, the next day is meetings with stakeholders to talk about their projects and their results. The next day I'm helping with the human validation. Like the dynamic part of it is part of the fun, Syed. Why would you want to break it out to be just a data scientist? No, man. I mean, you'd be taking the fun out of it. It's supposed to be dynamic, right? You're supposed to be a master of a lot of skills. That's what makes being a data scientist unique, right? So I have to disagree with you there. I hope that never happens. I want it to be a mixed bag of skills. I think that's a better one. Let me go. Some really good questions, but let me come back because I missed a question here by GB Gus. Thinking about starting a PhD after my postgraduate degree on machine learning and data science, what do you recommend? I recommend that you exercise your own creativity in this, because if you are smart enough to get through a master's in machine learning, if you're smart enough to get a master's in machine learning, then you should be smart enough to know what you want to do after, into a PhD program. I mean, to be frankly honest with you, your question concerns me a little bit. If you really just finished a master's program and you're really going into a PhD program, shouldn't you know what interests you by now? You should be pretty clear on what path you want, right? So GB Gust, I'm gonna pass on giving you an answer because it's a good opportunity for you to do some self-reflection and figure out what you want to do there. I mean, if I'm coming out of a master's program and I'm really thinking about a PhD, I'm probably going to have a good idea of what I want to do with my life, right? So I'm going to leave that to you. You sound like a smart guy. I think you can come up with something. Rahul says, thank you. We'll be joining this Sunday. Well, thank you too. Hope to see you there. Fact World says, is a BS in applied mathematics a good career path towards data science and AI? So Fact World, I cover this in my video, Data Science Roadmap for Students. That's literally the title. You're welcome to look for that title on my account on YouTube, Data Science with Dennis. I have a guide for students, and I actually address this. So the way... And this is actually talked about in my video, so I really encourage you to do it. But the way I rank the degrees is top degree is data science. If your school offers one, I realize that not all schools, not all countries offer a data science degree. But if you have a dedicated data science degree, I would do that. Next would be applied statistics. And third one is applied mathematics. So it's not a terrible choice that you'd be making, but I think applied statistics is a little better. And I'm saying that because I did peek ahead to Rex's excellent question. Rex is asking a great question. I hear people say data science is just applied statistics. What are your thoughts on that, Dennis? I agree. And this also ties back to our previous question where somebody was saying that data science has been around for since 2000. And that's not true at all. Data science has been around for a long time, but it was kind of generally called applied statistics. So a lot of applied statistics really is data science. So why do I say that? Well, first of all, I'll tell you one of my very first course was a graduate applied statistics course, and on the very first day, the instructor, the instructor said something that stuck with me. She told us about how everything that you do in statistics and data science, it's really just about determining what's the right tool for the job. So what you're learning in applied statistics is a series of tools. That's how you should be thinking about it, right? I'm just building my toolbox. And then the skill is knowing which each one of those tools does, looking at a problem, and then saying, this is the right tool for that job. If you can do that, you've already done 90% of the work, right? So applied statistics is very much like that for data science. So applied statistics, you're going to learn things like hypothesis testing, right? That's a huge part of applied statistics. Applied statistics is essentially data science, because you're taking a hypothesis and you're proving it or disproving it using numerical experiments, and that's what data science is, right? Second, if you're taking an applied statistics program, you're probably taking a course on regression methods. Like 95% of your applied statistics curriculums out there, you're going to find a linear regressions or regressions method course, guaranteed. So regression method is data science, because you're producing models that can be measured against observed data, right? And third, applied statistics also gets you working with numbers, right? It gets you working with numbers in the sense of understanding what numbers are, understanding that numbers all are really don't live alone. They live in ranges, right? Numbers are relative to each other, and you need that in data science. And then you're also maybe not as often, but you're also very likely to have a course on probabilities, and understanding probabilities is super important for data science. Like for me, if for somebody who works for me, I want them to know more about probabilities than I want them to know about linear algebra, right? You have all this nonsense of these math influencers online talking about linear algebra for data science. Don't listen to that. It's all about probabilities, right? I mean, I can tell you as a hiring manager, I look for probabilities more than I do for linear algebra, right? You're going to learn all of that in an applied statistics course. So when somebody says that, yeah, I agree with that, right? And coming back to the regression methods, sometimes, Rex, you'll hear somebody say that too, where they'll say, well, all data science is just regression methods. I've seen somebody bring that up in a forum or whatever, and they just didn't explain it right. So people blew him off like, yeah, okay, boomer, right? But it's true, right? Because regression methods is all about, what are you trying to solve for? What is the factor that you think affects that? And what is the weight you are trying to assign to that factor, right? What is the factor and what is the weight you want to assign to that factor? That is like 95% of data science, right? Like you can trace back just about every data science model back to that question. What are the features? What is the weight? So that's another thing you're going to learn in applied statistics, right? Features and weights. What are we trying to predict, and what can possibly predict it, and to what degree, to what weight? So yeah, Rex, tons of overlap there between those. Akib says, power turned off. Unfortunately, I didn't catch a suggestion to my problem ahead of row. Oh no! Oh, Akib, I gave you a long answer too, my friend. Can you please refer back to the replay? I save these replays up on YouTube, okay? So please refer back to the replay and you can get the answer there. Joseph says, thoughts on doing a master's in DS versus a PhD in DS? That's a very personal question, Joseph, because it also ties back to your own personal costs, your own finances, what it is that you want to do with the rest of your life. So I really can't answer for you that, my friend. Maybe if you want to put some more information into Discord, maybe there's like some differences in the programs that isn't immediately visible. Please let me know, okay? But it's really hard to answer that. I'm 40. I want to be a data scientist. I am postgraduate in civil engineering. I am having a career gap of 4 years. Will I be hired if I learn the necessary skills? Sure. Sure. Yeah, don't let that stop you. You know, the reality is, and this isn't common, but the reality is that a good data science manager is going to want people from diverse backgrounds, because you want diversity of thought when you're collaborating within a team, right? You want to have people who have a different perspective to say, to tell somebody, right, in a collaboration effort, maybe your team is doing some brainstorming. You want the diversity of thought to be able to say, yeah, I like your thought and I respect your rationale, but I don't agree with it. Here's why. Here's my view on it, right? That's very valuable on a good data science team, right? Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of terrible data science managers out there, but the better data science managers are gonna want you to have that diversity, and also the ability to speak up like that, right? To not be a sycophant, right? So Vinod, I think that you're just fine with that. Don't let that hold you back. Feel free to emphasize that in your interviews, right? You want people with that diversity. You want people outside of the domain, right? I was having a conversation maybe like 2 months ago with some airline executives, and they were telling me how they were having trouble filling a position for a data scientist because they wanted somebody from the airline industry. And that's a massive mistake, right? Massive mistake. You don't want that, because all you're doing is you're bringing in that person's biases from their previous work in the airline industry, right? If you're sitting there and the person you hired says, oh yeah, we can't do that. I tried that at my last company. That doesn't work. That's a fail, right? That's a massive fail. You do not want that. So Vinod, I think that you could actually be in a position, again, if you're talking about working on a good team with good management, that background can actually help you land a job. Okay, so stay optimistic. Keep on doing your studies, dedicate yourself to the profession, but I think you'll be just fine. Rex says, thanks for your answer. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate all the support. Appreciate your participation in Discord. I'm just here sharing my thoughts with you guys. Thanks, sir, for your guidance. I'm just sharing what's been my reality, what's been my experience, right? That's all I can do. So if that helps you guys, then I'm happy. I'm trying to look ahead here because I am going to have to wrap up the stream here in a little bit. Okay, Rahul, I think this is going to be the last question, because Rahul, you're asking an excellent question here. I hear a lot that data scientists sometimes optimize for loss function depending on their job. I fail to understand, what does this mean? Could you please explain if possible? Yeah, sure. So I don't think of it in terms of loss function per se, because loss function is going to depend on what model you're using. And again, we're taking a broad look at models, right? We're not going to lock in on a model. So I don't think of it so much as loss function, but I do think about it in terms of the metrics that you want to optimize for. Like, do you want to optimize for false positives or false negatives? But here's the thing. You are not making that decision. The business and your stakeholders is making that decision. And the reason I say that is because you can usually associate a dollar value to false positives and false negatives, or whatever other function or whatever loss function you want to have for your models. You can associate dollar values with that, right? So if we just take the classic example of a credit card transaction and you're detecting fraud, there's a difference there, right? Or there's two errors there that your algorithm can make, right? You're rejecting a transaction that is valid, that should have passed, but for some reason your fraud model incorrectly detected it as fraud. Or there's a transaction that should have been marked as fraud, but wasn't, right? It was let pass through as a valid transaction, right? Those are the two mistakes it can make, right? So there's dollar values you can associate with those mistakes. It's usually the false negative, right? Where you let a transaction go through that should have been fraudulent, right? Because on the other side, the person could have just been trying to buy like a cheap candy bar or something and it got rejected, right? And also, in that scenario, there's really not a lot of loss to the bank. It's just like an inconvenience for the customer, right? The customer might be mad at you for a little bit, but that's going to be it, right? Whereas on the fraudulent transaction, you could lose, like thousands of dollars on a single transaction. So, so Rahul, that's kind of like what you should really be thinking about it, right? Do I want to risk an annoyed customer, or do I want to risk losing thousands of dollars to a transaction that I should have caught and the algorithm didn't, right? So that's how you want to think about it in terms of what you're optimizing for. Because you are going to have algorithms that you really can't land on a confusion matrix that gives you a fair balance of everything, right? So that's where so that's kind of like the classic example for what you're asking. So I hope that helps you. If you want to ask more questions, feel free to do that in the Discord. But that's really how you should be thinking about it. Of okay, I talked to the business. This is what's important to them. This is how we minimize dollar losses. So that's what I'm going to optimize for in my model development. These are the parameters that need to be fine-tuned to be able to land on the result the business wants, because we know that causes us the least financial harm. Okay? All right, guys. So I think that makes for a natural stopping point. I want to wrap up the stream here, but thank you so much for spending time with me today. I'm streaming for the next 100 days. I'm basically going to be streaming from now until the end of October, so feel free to join me when your time is available. This Sunday, 1500 GMT, I'm going to be doing the class again. I'm going to be doing a live class. We had some great participation last time. I have some great materials coming up. And also, if you'd like to support more of my content, please look up Your First Year in Data Science. It's available now on Amazon. It's available in all formats. I've tried to make the ebook affordable for most parts of the world. If you want to give me some feedback on that, please let me know. But thank you so much. Really appreciate the time. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. And I'll see you next time.